You and I don't know what tomorrow will bring, or next week, or 3 months' time, or 2 years in the future. All of those are time-bound, time-related, and connected to the passing of minutes and hour hands and the turning over of a date on a mechanical watch that we hope will be good for the future, but we have absolutely no control of it. We do not know what is going to happen. The only thing we're in control of is what we do right now, what we do today. I produced a video recently all about the idea of overcoming procrastination and taking the active steps to do the things which are important to you and to do them in the present rather than putting them off into the future. In fact, there's a fabulous song by an artist I love called Donovan Woods, and it's called Next Year. Next year we will build a treehouse. Next year we will go to the beach. Next year we will move house. We don't know what next year is going to bring, and the 5 things that I want to share with you today are all they all have time-bound elements, but they are things that you can do from today to take a little bit more control of how you use your time, how you spend it, because it is an exchange. You decide to watch TV or you decide to write in your journal. You choose to go for a walk around the neighborhood, or you choose to waste time doom scrolling on your phone about all the crazy things and the bad things that are happening in the world. If you look at them and you focus on them, of course, there are crazy things going on in the world. If you focus inwardly on you and on your situation, you will find, my perspective of course, you will find that things can improve, things can get better, because all of a sudden you are using this time in a way that works for you and is good for you. You know that I have a fascination for time. In preparing for this video and looking at some of the ideas that I want to share, I was very conscious of the way that time has impacted me, really from being a teenager, when I had a schoolboy diary and I would make notes about what I wanted to do over the weekend with my friends, and then on a Sunday night, what I knew was coming up at school and where I wanted to put myself into certain activities and of course avoid others, but to put myself into the activities that I enjoyed and I loved. And I think this is one of the reasons why I am a watch collector and why I love my watches. This one is called a Zulu time. It allows me to track time here in England and at home in Mexico, so that I always know when my wife and I can speak to each other according to the current time gap, which is 6 hours. So I have it set so that on the bezel I can always see on the GMT hand, or Greenwich Mean Time hand, what time it is in England and therefore what time it is at home in Mexico. I love having a watch because it allows me to focus where I want to put my energy for an hour or an evening or a weekend. And using your time is the most important thing. You may have a digital watch, an Apple Watch, a smart watch, and you're always looking at it and thinking, oh, what's that message? What's that inbound WhatsApp message or a text or even a crazy email? How on earth, without reading glasses, do you manage to read something on your wrist? I don't know. But also what I do know is that the colleagues I have who wear smartwatches are always looking at their wrists. They're never focused in the meeting like I think they ought to be, or they are focused and they're keen and they're good at what they do, but every now and again there's a ping and a noise and they are distracted because of that constant access to being online, but also the fact that other people know they have that smartwatch and they expect them to be available at the drop of a hat. It's damaging to what you want to achieve to be available all the time. Do you switch off your phone when you go to bed? I hope so. I hope you switch it off before you get ready for bed. When do you switch it on? Do you switch it on when you are ready for the day? What else can you do? Have a look at how time is affecting you, how it is driving you, and the way that you are utilizing what you do. The first thing I want to suggest is that you wear a basic watch where you can see the time. Maybe it's got a day date on it as a complication, which this one has. The second thing I want to talk about is the whole process, using time as our point of focus, of slowing down. We can be very busy, we can be very dynamic in the work environment, and we do this and this and this and this and this, and so many things can happen in the course of a day, in the course of our working week, but we can sometimes suffer from the pace at which we are working, the pace at which we are seeking to make decisions and work with colleagues and get projects done and push things to the next stage in their development and their sense of progress that we get from where we are with that particular thing. But the whole point about slowing down is, if you are aware of time, if you have a realization of how little we just have 24 hours in a day, a large amount of that is for sleep, the rest is for traveling or commuting or returning home from a work environment and preparing yourself for that work day, or relaxing and coming home from that work day, bringing yourself down to what's important to family and friends and your own self-development. How are you using your time? How will the process of weekly planning be something that you can take control of? You and I are in control of our time to the extent that we take the hours in our week and we think, what can we do with them? How are we best using our time? What can we do to achieve maximum beneficial effect? That doesn't mean maximum impact. It means what's best for you, what's best for your household. I will use a common desk diary, such as this one here, and on a regular basis, I will normally on a Saturday and a Sunday look at my diary and think, what sort of activity do I want to happen on a given working day or over the course of a weekend? And I will plan for that. I know that, for example, I want to try and do 6 hours worth of writing in a week. I have 35 hours at work. I have some time, an hour every night, for exercise activity, sometimes in the morning if I go swimming before work. But I can plan those things. And having a desk diary allows me to be aware of that. If post comes in, I can put items in there. So, for example, this week I got my latest membership card for the Youth Hostel Association, and I'm off youth hosteling next weekend and having some walks on some coastal footpaths. But planning my week, giving a sense of structure to what I do is important. What can you do to think about the way you're going to use your time just in the next 7 days? Work on the next week before you think about monthly and quarterly ideas of what you will do. But think about things like family, relationships, investment activity, work, exercise and well-being, and plan aspects of your day over the course of the next 7 to think, what can I do that will serve my well-being? How can I utilize my time for an hour here or 2 hours over there to do the things which are important to me? When do you do it? If you don't have time in your mind already for what you're going to be planning for next week, have some kind of desk diary or maybe something smaller. You know, I have these little booklets that I carry in my handbag or my man bag, and I will in these look at the things that I want to do in the course of a week. And sometimes I will, if I can just turn to a page here where we are, we're in this particular month. So I will look at some of the activity I've got coming out over a week, and I will plan it and make notes on it. Today I added some content again to my diary for what happened today, but I had planned last week that I would, for example, trade some vintage books, that I would go to a coffee shop and work on the transcribing of handwritten notes with a fountain pen in my writing books, to putting those into a Pages document on my MacBook Air. That was forecast and the time was allocated, so I didn't have to wake up this morning and think, oh, what shall I do? What can I possibly do with the day that I have in front of me? You don't want to be in that situation. The place to be is in control of the majority of your day. Have some flexibility, because things crop up that we need to focus on and give our attention to, and that we have no prior knowledge of. But with a little bit of flexibility within your schedule, you can do that. Look at weekly planning. So you're slowing down and actually planning your week and thinking about the things that you want to do, the people you want to spend time with, and the activities that you enjoy that you want to allocate more of your precious time to. Because remember, the clock is ticking all the time. Tick, 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 tick. A minute's gone, an hour's gone, a day has gone. And you never get it back. So use your time, use pen and paper to track and to monitor what you're absolutely doing and make the best use of it. But are you making progress? How do you know you've had a good week and that the last 2 months have been good if you're not tracking, if you're not looking closely at where your diary is being used, how your time is being invested or wasted? Because that's the way I look at it. You invest your time in what you choose to do, or you choose where not to place your energy and your focus and your activity. So tracking is very important. And you could do something like I do in my desk diary, which is have a simple one page which works for me every single month. And I will track my writing activity, time spent either in the park or on my exercise bike here in the office, my time spent reading and the books that I work through in the course of a month, looking at finance, so what money is coming in, what money is going out. Are we winning in the sense that there is always more coming in than is going out? If it's going out into a certain project, is it a project that will have medium to long-term return, or is it an expense, in which case it's part of normal household budgeting and is different from investment activity and investment income? The other thing we look at is socials, time spent with other people, time around family and friends, and also I track the number of times I will go to work in a coffee shop or to sit somewhere away from the house, away from the office, and I look at the money spent, the time that I dedicate to that writing activity, and the hours that are allocated over the course of a month. So not only am I tracking, I have written on this number of occasions, whether in the house or outside, but I want to know what my benefits are from allocating my time and money to that process. The other thing I'd use is, this is a very simple, this is a Moleskine A6 size. It's a beautiful little book. This one's a soft cover. It's got a little elasticated piece that allows you to keep it closed, and in the back there is a little pocket for you to put receipts from coffee shops or travel stubs or whatever you want to put in there. Postage stamps I often use. But in here, one of the things I've been doing this month is tracking what I eat, what its calorie value is, how I feel when I had a really bad day and I overate, or where there is no comment, obviously it's because I've done really well. So there I've written that I've had 990 calories and about 1100 here, as well as the exercise. I'm tracking the fact that every day I am managing, and if I can show it you on here, every day I'm managing 10 kilometers on my exercise bike, and that keeps me happy. It's something I can do after I've written for the morning or before I go to bed. 10 kilometers on my bike, might be 25, 30 minutes, depends how much energy I want to put into it, but it's helping me and it's keeping me on track. Track what matters. So I've written down in here, track your well-being, your exercise and food, your mental health, all of this, because time is precious and you need to know whether the way you are allocating your time is bringing you benefit and value, and not so much reward, but that it's good for your well-being. Track how you use your time and use it as wisely as you can, but you don't know how you're using it until you start the tracking process. Point number 4 that I want to share with you on this whole process of slowing down and having an analog approach to being productive in a way that matters for you, being able to monitor time and track how you use your time and plan for what you want to happen over the course of a given week. The 4th point is related to those first ones. It's about time for yourself. And for me, one of the greatest treats I can give myself is reading time. It could be 30 minutes before work, or similarly before sleep and after I've been on the exercise bike. But sometimes at the weekend I'll read for 2 or 3 hours, and I absolutely love that time. It's just about serving myself, giving myself a helping of something that could be exquisite or thrilling or daring as a story, or just a gently evocative telling of a tale that perhaps takes you back to childhood or projects you into a fantastical future situation. Read, because it will nurture you and it will replenish you in all sorts of great ways according to what you read. I read 2 action thrillers earlier at this beginning of this month, and I really enjoyed those, but I devoured them. They were great page turners, and one of them I didn't want to go to bed that night without having finished it, so that was a whole Saturday evening read, and I finished at about 1 o'clock in the morning. The 2 that I've got remaining on my list for this month are both travel books. One is by Simon Armitage, a UK poet laureate, and it's called All Points North. It's his telling of his diary notes, sitting in coffee shops or on public transport or going to poetry readings, talking about some of the things that are important for him. So, for example, this collection has all the resonant precision of a poet's eye and ear. If he's precise, however, he's far from precious, and much of the book is laugh out loud funny. Armitage loves his North without sentiment, and he serves it well. That's going to go with me in my rucksack this weekend when I go up to the youth hostel. I'll probably get a few pages, maybe several chapters read on the way to the hostel, and the rest I can read over the course of a few days while I'm tramping along the coastal path. But I'm looking forward to that. I live in the North. It is my home. All Points North is going to be a great read. The other one for the final week of the month will be this one by Patrick Leigh Fermor. He's a man who has written one of my most precious books, A Time of Gifts. This one is called The Broken Road from the Iron Gates to Mount Athos. So another travel book, another solid read that will take me a whole week to get through. But I'm looking forward to that. Reading time is a slowdown. It's time for you. It's something that you can put in your commonplace book. Maybe there is a first line that you like, or maybe there are sections in it or poems that are quoted. Let's see, I'm just random. Here we go. At Orsova, there was the Danube again. It was nearly a mile broad now, but immediately west it swirled and boiled through the mountain defile of the Kazan, the cauldron, which is only 162 yards across. Since I had turned my back on it at Budapest, this insatiable river had gorged itself with the Sava, the Drava, the Tisa, the Maros, and the Morava, and a score of lesser-known tributaries. I could keep reading. I haven't started the book yet. That's the first time I've opened a page to actually look at it for the sake of this video. I'm already enthralled. I am captured by his reading. I know he never disappoints. But how will you feel after reading a book that you chose thoughtfully, or that you chose, I need some downtime, I'm going to read, I'm going to slow my efforts and my activity and my energy down, and I'm going to put myself into a book. When did you last sit down and enjoy a book from cover to cover over a reasonably short period of time so that you had a coherent memory of the whole story, and when you finished it, you realized you had been taken on an adventure or a journey or pulled through a mystery that entertained you? Reading is beautiful because it replenishes you and it allows you to refocus. While you are reading that book, your brain is animated, it's entertained, but you are rejuvenating yourself in the most beautiful way. That's why I have a house full of books, and I love writing books. But books are a great way. They're one of the 5 things I'm talking about today. But reading is my number 4 recommendation for using your time wisely, thoughtfully, and sensibly. Give yourself the treat of a good book in the next week. Think about it. Take the time to think, okay, what will I read? Pull it down from your shelf or go into a bookstore and buy a physical book so that you have that tactile experience. You put a bookmark in the pages. You could use the slipcover, for example, and then that goes inside the book. Or go and treat yourself to a beautiful bookshop in an independent bookstore. Give them your business and let that book be a treat for you to do what I said, or what I described as replenishing yourself and giving you a point of refocus. My 5th point is no surprise. It's about the concept of journaling, of taking a notebook or a pad of paper. It doesn't really matter what it is or where you get it from. But this one, for example, is my journal entry from something that happened a week ago. I was drawn into a conversation and it was intriguing, but also it came the day after a very stressful incident. So I was thinking about the conversation I just had. I was reflecting on what had happened the day before, and I was getting my thoughts into maybe an order, but it was a little bit chaotic. But that's the point about journaling. There is no right way of doing it. The fact that you're doing it is what matters. It allows you to unload some of the stuff that is going on up here and start to put it down on paper. When you put things down on paper, you take the effort to either uncap a pretty fountain pen or a bog standard biro. It does not matter. Maybe you like using pencils or crayons or coloured pens, like something like these, the green or the purple that I've often got in my bag or in one of my pen pots on a shelf or on my desk. It doesn't matter what you use. You choose what you use because that's what you like to have in your hand when you're writing. Journal because it is the opportunity for you to unburden yourself, to let your ideas or your dreams or your thoughts or your anxiety onto paper, and you will make sense of them in your own way. If you were to read my journal, you'd think, my goodness. Or if I was to read yours, I'd think, blimey, where do those ideas come from? We're all different, and our journaling process is as unique as our DNA. The idea is that you get that pen, you start writing, and you let yourself express the thoughts and the ideas and the worries or the concerns, the aspirations onto paper, and it takes stuff out of here and calms you down. It's a wonderful reflective process because it encapsulates what's going through your head at the time that you are writing and letting those words and those feelings out onto paper. Those are my 5 suggestions for a more analog approach to planning your time, managing your time, reflecting on how you are working your own way through life and the lessons that you can grab from the way your mind gives you feedback and ideas and allows you to reflect. So get yourself a watch, one that is not a digital distraction or one that is interrupting your own private time or your work time with unnecessary information or pressure upon your time and energy and points of focus. The second thing is that you slow down because you get involved with weekly planning and you look at what's important to you, how you will allocate your diary according to 4 or 5 roles that have significant meaning for you, and you put your energy and focus into those as your priority for having a good week. Remember, plan for this coming week, behave in today in a way that you want tomorrow to happen, but plan for a week ahead, and you will be amazed by some of the things that happen, and you will certainly overcome any need for procrastination in the topic that I spoke about recently. Point number 3 is tracking. You keep yourself literally on track, no pun intended, but you track what's happening. You think to yourself, was I happy with the allocation of my time relative to the outcome that I achieved? Tracking is a brilliant process. And then number 4, let yourself replenish your energy, rebuild your mood, rebuild that sense of who you are and knowing why you are driven by or motivated towards things that you enjoy reading, and let yourself have that refocus, that re-energizing that comes from just sitting still, being quiet, looking at the pages and turning those pages physically. It's quite hypnotic to have a book in your hand and actually, if you listen to the sound of these pages, and also if you are turning those pages one at a time because you've read that page, you've thought about it, maybe you make notes in the margins and you underline things, that's completely fine. It's your book. You get to extract the maximum value from it, but you enjoy it as a way of refocusing and looking at who you are and what are your motivators. And then the final point, use a journal to capture your ideas and think about what's happened over the course of the week, some of the incidents that took place. Maybe you journal about a film you watched, or I'm going to comment in my journal or in a commonplace book about extracts of what I've read and my reaction to what I thought about that particular book or that film. And those 5 things have given me a meaningful week. And of course, we continue to repeat the cycle. We are tracking the way that we use time and the way that we allow ourselves to participate in our own lives using tactile, analog methods of being. Let me know what you're doing. Are you using a large format booklet to journal in, or are you using something much smaller like this little, look at the comparison, A6 pocketbook that lets you capture your thoughts and express yourself slowly and thoughtfully so that you have something to look back on in the future, but which right now, in this moment, lets you say, this is me, this is how my life is running, and these are the things that are of interest to me, which drive me, which motivate me, which allow me to step into the following week and that whole planning and tracking and refocusing process. I hope this is helpful to you, and I really want it to be something that simplifies 5 things that are so easy to overcomplicate. Wherever you are, have a great week.